Welcome. My name is Penelope Chatterton. Welcome to Awaken the Dream. My friends, 5 months ago I moved and I'm back for trips because I love doing what I do with Awaken the Dream and with my work with Joel Goldsmith and the Infinite Way. But first, thank you to Tim Riley here, who is my super director and could not be replaced. So here I am again, and hopefully I'll be able to come back and travel every 2 or 3 months, so we'll work on it. But thank you for joining me, because today I want to honor Joel Goldsmith. I've been studying some new tapes, and honestly, the man continues to blow my mind, because even if I've heard it, it's like you've never heard what he has said before, because he's so channeled, it's so fresh. He's such an instrument for God. God certainly used him to create a mystical concept, and he moved from being a Brooklyn real estate person. He went into Christian Science. He became a profound healer. And then he realized that something was happening. He kept getting messages from God that blew his mind. He was always like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that, because he was so open to meditation and receiving the gifts of spirit. He found God is spirit. He's not in the material plane. He's not in the mind, which I'll start there, because to me that blew Joel's mind. Joel was giving a talk in 1958, and it came to him, mind is not power. Well, his audience seemed to get through it okay, and he could hardly sleep that night because it upset him so, because he always thought in the 19th century, we used thought, metaphysics to create. So he figured the next day everybody would come in and, be miserable, and they all came in smiling, saying what a great program that was, and of course then Joel got it. They didn't get it, because that's what he was born into. Mind is power. It's creative, and Joel found out it wasn't. It's an avenue of awareness. It's wonderful to be honored, but it doesn't create. Now that just, when you have revelation, as Joel says, it kicks all your beliefs out the door, and it's upsetting. You feel betrayed, you feel lost. What your parents told you, your minister told you, your church told you, that's not true. And here he was just having to handle this. So he figured it would take him 2 years to put that in writing, because he didn't know how he was going to even word it. He was so upset about it. So he let that go, but he carried on trying gingerly to express the fact that the creative power comes from the soul, from God's gift, and everyone has a gift from God. Everyone is an individual expression of the whole of the universe. We are one soul, one mind, one body. We are one with God. He always emphasizes, if you can just remember where omnipresence is, God is always with you. Omniscience, God is always speaking to you. And omnipotence, it's the only power there is God. So, really, that kind of sums it right up. The only power, the only wisdom, the only presence is who you are. You're none of these other things. So what he's trying to help us with, and even Jesus had to overcome all his sense impressions of how you feel, think, see, feel, talk, anything that comes from the mind. Jesus got through the material plane by working his way through all of that to his divine sonship. He was the most wonderful teacher for Joel. Joel will forever honor him, and he actually became a friend. And that touches my heart, because it's wonderful to have someone you can confide in and talk to. And Jesus did the job. Like mystics that had revelations, like Meister Eckhart, like Mary Baker Eddy, like the cloud of unknowing, like Buddha mind. There were folks that came in for centuries, and the light was so bright within them, they absolutely had to share it. And we all benefited from it. We all did. We may not be the same mystic, but we can learn, we can listen, we can identify, hopefully, and have our consciousness raised to join where they are. So I'm here so grateful that Joel gave me the Infinite Way, because I needed something that made sense to me, and this does. I had this wonderful out of body when I was a teenager. I've had so much loss very young. I've had, I almost shouldn't say it, but I will. I had a dog that I was so close to that when Miranda was put down, she became into me and stayed with me, and then lifted out of my back to show me we are invisible spirits. And yesterday I was really shocked because you don't get those huge glimpses every now and then, but I was nervous coming back and trying to find the right words and covered with cat hair from trying to help my grandkids. And I was lying there yesterday for my first break, and into my mind or into my soul came the most unbelievable bright color with almost a moon in the middle, and it flickered, and it came back twice, and I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe, and all I know was God was saying, you're going to be fine, you can do this. So again, I am grateful that I'm a spirit, that I'm invisible, and that I can work with the infinite way. Now, let's go to the Bible. Let's go to Genesis, because here Joel helps us a lot with the first chapter. God created man in his own image, perfect. There's no woman around, he says. Gee, there's a man there, and he's got everything. And Joel thought, that's pretty nifty. That's what we really are, until we move to the second chapter of Genesis, where we find a woman, which came out of Adam's rib. And then we got kids. So we've got a material plane developing in the second chapter, which is what we were all born into. We have to deal with a material plane, a sense perception of what we taste, feel, think, see, hear. All of that is in the human realm. And you might be saying, well, why not? That's who we are. But it's not who we are. That's what Jesus overcame, all the sense perceptions of this dimension. He got to the fourth dimension where God took him. He listened. And even the people that he healed, the fact that he was crucified is, even the people who crucified him were healed because they didn't get it. What is it? Straight is the way and narrow is the gate, and few there be that get it. The disciples didn't get it. To overcome a sensory world, a material world, requires what? Nothing but a lot of work. And if you're open to it, you'll do it, because it'll make sense to you. So I'm hoping to make sense to you today, as I'm feeling a little fragile from my trip, that you're hearing what Joel is saying, that you are whole, complete, and perfect, like in the first chapter of Genesis. You've got it all. Now, to get there, the big secret is be still and know. Be still. Now take that really seriously. Excuse me. Be still means be quiet. Keep the TVs off. Listen. Go within. You have an individual personal savior waiting to talk to you. That still small voice, that hunch, that did not come from up here. And sometimes we have to get that, because that's kind of spooky. It's like, what do you mean that didn't come from my mind? It didn't. Yes, we can use our mind to write and to read and certain things as an avenue of awareness. But honestly, that still small voice, there's an individual still small voice for everyone. Not everyone's getting the same message, because everyone's on a different journey. So I really want you to take that to heart, because that just warmed my soul. And when I got that beautiful, beautiful bright color, when you meditate and you shut your eyes, it's not dark and dreary in there. It's bright. And you know what it is? It's got energy. The universe is energetic. And it's creative. So if you wanted to write a beautiful book, if you wanted to sing a gorgeous song, if you wanted to paint the best picture ever, let your soul inspire you. Okay, here's where inspiration comes from. The soul, God, knows what he can give you with your talent. He has an assignment for you. So let it come through. And how creativity comes through, which is not the mind, it's the soul, is you have to be still and listen to it. Let's face it, friends, that's a huge chore for most of us. We're raised with noise and TVs and fear and hate and wars and good and evil. That's our world. Now, how do you get rid of all of that? By being still, by feeling the light, by feeling the brightness, and by receiving the gifts of God. Positive. It's always positive. Now, another thing, don't depend on yesterday's manna. If you had a miracle day yesterday, great. Wonderful. Don't expect today is going to be the same, because, as Joel says, we live in the now. So many spiritual writers are writing books about being in the now, and it's the truth. Infinity is the now. It didn't start anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's present, moment to moment, eternally, infinitely. So, forget yesterday and just remember, don't forget. Be still and know. Be still. It's so interesting. I was sitting in a crowd the other day, and there was some negativity going on, and it was just like, ugh. And I thought, gee, I really don't kind of want to hear that. But then it lifted me into that still small voice where I literally felt I was in heaven in the middle of all of that. I got that gift because I remembered who I was. I remembered what the world was like. I remembered about infinite love. Love is eternal. And listen to your heart. Everything goes from the heart. When you feel your heart, that's not a big emotional thing. It's the heart and God and the soul work together. So when Joel had that shocking, he really was very emotional about being shocked with the mind is not power. It took 2 years for him to pull himself together to actually express it so he wouldn't scare people, because that was huge. I mean, he calls all of us, we are one being. I mean, we have the Buddha mind. We have Mary Baker Eddy and other folks, Brahmins, who will call God Mother, Father, Father, Mother, Jesus Christ. There's all kinds of names for God. But don't try to, if you don't know what it is, don't try and make it up. Don't try and find words to describe God. God can't be described. No. He's infinite. He's an atmosphere. He's a feeling. But if you try and call him something, then you've lost him. Do you know what I mean? Do you get that point? If you make him into something maybe your Sunday school teacher or your mother told you that you really think is from God, it's not. You can't know. All you can know is infinity, an atmosphere, a feeling of joy, of peace, of love, of abundance. And you know, Joel was talking about if you think you want something and you want to pray for it with your mind, like a new car, money, blah, 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 forget that. Forget that's not going to work. What you want to do is know in the still small voice, in the presence, is everything you need and more. Take that down. Your wildest dreams are from God. Don't bring it down to something you think you need, because something better is probably on the horizon. So if, in fact, you needed that car, that probably would show up. But maybe it's something more than that. Maybe it's a steamship. So, my friends, rest and let go. Let go in the now, because that's required of you morning, noon, and night. You wake up in the middle of the night and you're in the now. And you'll get used to practicing, because I'm getting used to practicing that. It's taken time. I'm no spring chicken, so trust me, it takes time. If I wake up, I shut my eyes and I see the light. Joel was saying in a class, he said, you don't know me. You don't know who I am. I'm looking down at you and I know you're here in my class and I see you're here, but I didn't put you there. You came. And how can you know me? You know my name is Joel. I have a tag. I have a movement. But how can you know me? Whatever you think of me, you can't. All you can know is I'm whole, complete, and perfect like you. You're looking in a mirror. Let's get that one straight, because that helps. That's a nice image. You're looking in a mirror at somebody else, and you may have opinions, sense perceptions of what you think you're seeing that isn't perfect. So there's where your work comes in. Pretend it's you. How would you want to be seen? You know you're whole, complete, and perfect, so as you look at someone else, you're all one body in this infinite world. It's peaceful. It's generous. It serves. Now let's get to service. You can't be here just to hang out. You're here to give. Because once you get the light, it cannot be held back. It's a revelation. When you let go of something you thought you knew, you have to give it away. Because giving it away gives it back to you. You not only serve you, you serve others who can relate to where you are. But it keeps you buoyed up in God as you give it away, as you speak the truth about who God is, not some made-up version, not a name that makes no sense. And that's refreshing because, the simpler we get about the infinite way and infinity and the atmosphere of God, the simpler we get, the more we're close to God. And we know it when we do that. So being in the now is perfect. You know who you are. Whatever challenges you have through your day, you are not alone. You have a savior. You have a buddy. You can call him whatever you want. You have the still small voice, and take orders. When you meditate, speak, Lord, your servant heareth, as Joel says all the time. I know nothing. I am yours today. What's up? And really get into that, even though you've got agendas and things you have to do. Sure, we all have to live life with what we have to do. But there's surprises in every day. When you say, okay, I want miracles today. How about let's walk on water? What can we do that's absolutely awesome and wonderful that you have in mind for me to do? And then maybe you want to create a symphony. Maybe there's something you've always wanted to do in your heart and you dare to relax in that and say, can I do it? Would you give me that gift? Because gifts, my friends, you are all gifted. So remember that. You all have something special to do here. You're here. We're in this dimension. We want to go to the other one. We want to go to the fourth dimension where we walk on water. I mean, look at politics. Look at the opinions that are out there scrambling for who's right and who's wrong. Speaking of sense perceptions, who can outdo someone else politically? I mean, that's a perfect example of where we really don't want to go because none of that makes any sense. We want to see the worst person we know as whole, complete, and perfect for our own sanity, for our own uplifted spirit, for what we need to do for our souls, because we will be around forever. In the now, you're infinite. You're not going anywhere. You may transition, as Joel says, but the assignment is eternal. Who knows where you're going? You may become a saint. You may be a voice for someone else. You may come back to be a savior. You just have to know it's never over. And it's interesting because we've all lost so many people, and it's so helpful to know that everyone's out there kicking, doing something. And even Joel says, God's in heaven and he's in hell, and go through the valley of the shadow and death, and he's there with you. You can't get rid of this beautiful energy of love. It's with you forever. I mean, we're all going to return back. I'm so uplifted, frankly, with all I'm seeing, with all the dissension in the world, that I'm seeing people actually, I see the spiritual world moving up with people who really dislike war, who dislike hate, and who want to have a voice. This, to me, is encouraging. We have a world that needs to grow and change and be pure love. And I see the signs of that. Yes, we see the worst, but the best is responding to that. And to me, I don't know if it's my opinion, but I think I see the world coming together, loving one another, caring about one another, and wanting to work together as a world. So my friends, don't be shocked with the mind has no power and all the things somebody told you was real about this dimension. It's easier to let all that go. It's less work. You just rest in spirit. You are a spirit. God is spirit. What did he say? Something about the Hebrews. There's a little guy up in the sky with a big beard. I mean, giving you directions. I don't know what you call him, but whatever it is, that's not it. There's every way to overcome what you've heard. And you can do it. And you can do it through the practice of meditation. Quiet. You can meditate in the car. You can meditate in the supermarket. You can be aware of spirit, of perfection, of giving, of serving. Anytime, anywhere, morning, noon, and night. And it gets easier with practice. So let me tell you, friends, practice makes perfect. Here I am at my stage in life, as I said, no spring chicken. And I've been working on my spiritual practice since I was a teenager. I've always been fascinated. My dad was a Christian Scientist, my grandparents practitioners in the 1800s, and Joel was born in the late 1800s. So I had to deal with that as a kid. You know, what are they talking about? Walking on water and being pure and whole and not sick and all of that stuff. So I dealt with it. One of 4 girls, and I'm the one that grabbed the baton because it fit me with what I've been through. And I had a real big trauma with having young kids being widowed. And boy, did I need what was given me to think about surviving in love and in peace, and that everything would be okay, no matter what the lessons look like. And we've all had chapters that have been hideous. Believe me, I am one of them, where I was lost, didn't know what was going on, but I always had deep down inside a sense of something that I was given as a teenager. That doesn't go away. Once you've had any awareness and awakening, it's with you. Even though you have a chapter in your life where you're doing diapers and you're teaching and you're too busy, that inner glow that you had once is still there, and you need to teach it maybe instead of, you just need to teach it, to learn it, to have it, to give it away. Use your enlightenment. Yes, the light is bright. Revelation is scary when you have to let go of stuff that you clung to forever, but what you get instead is where miracles happen. I think it's fun to not know what's next, to surrender so much that you don't know what's next. What does God have planned for you? I'm here now, I'm back, because I was lost without doing this, because the light that I've been given, I had to give away, not only for me, but for you, for consciousness. Joel uses that word all the time. Consciousness is who we are. We're spirit, we're in consciousness. It doesn't have a name, don't try and give it one. Think of the now. Think of just every moment being whole, complete, and perfect, like the first chapter in Genesis. There's a man. I got such a kick out of Joel saying, just a guy was there. That was it. No woman, no kids. Everything was perfect. So I'm not a Bible studier, but I got a bang out of the fact that out of the rib of Adam came Eve, and then we had, and I don't know whether God thought that was cool, or I suspect the material plane thought that was cool. And so then we've created this dimension of love and fear and hate and good and evil. This is all going on. So that's a big assignment. I don't want you to take this lightly. That's a lot of work to do. But you can do it with practice. And when you see the results of being in the now and being meditative and surrendering, don't think you got one idea of your own. Surrender to your inner savior, your guidance, and see the miracles that come to you that you didn't think of. It came from the soul. We're all going home to where we started, which is in that wonderful, miraculous now where love ruled. We're here to take care of each other. I'm seeing that in the world. I see it with so many, I've seen it with New Thought. I've seen it with Christian Science. I've seen it with healing in churches. Joel is pretty sure every church is going to have healings in the future. Not all, he said, in his generation, but the fact that we can heal as we join our souls together in love, people can have healings. And he claims all churches will have that. And for me, that's pretty exciting, because it's interesting. Joel was a master teacher as far as I'm concerned, but he also was a healer, and he was a very vulnerable guy. I so appreciate the way he shares his journey of struggles and frustration and wondering if he was on the right track. Yeah, and his transition was beautiful. They sort of knew that he was ready. And he gave probably his most sparkling lecture before he did transition. And he was ready. He was ready, and I want to just thank him, because I always think I'm a student of his, and I hope he knows I'm here carrying on, because I would love that. I so honor his guts. The messages he got scared him. But he had courage, and he found out that he could grow this beautiful movement, which took the politics out of church, by the way. Yep, No more bickering. No more listening to who's one-upping. No politics. In the infinite way, if you're an invisible spirit and you live invisibly, there's no room for ego. Now, we can't be better than anyone else. We see everyone as we are, as whole, complete, and perfect. And that's where our peace and our joy and our journey comes in. So I'm talking a lot, but I want to thank you all for welcoming me back on many levels, especially Tim. And I'm glad I'm here, and I hope to come back again. And thank you for joining me on Awaken the Dream. God bless you all.